Okay, so the pond is done, but I forgot about something. There's no way for the pond to lose water in the case of large rain events, such as what has happened this month since it's now November here in Redding, California. That means rain, and for us, this year at least, it means large rain events, which has twice now, if not 3 times, filled up my pond to full, and one case actually came out into the dirt around it and started filling in space, which eventually obviously would soak in, but it was so high that I had to pump a lot of water out to make a difference. Because, I'm lazy, didn't want to have to, measure or, do something as trivial as, make something even or level, mostly because I didn't care. But that's because I didn't think about how to get rid of all this extra rain we'd get. So, here's the plan. On this side of the pond, which is also one of the lowest spots, I will dig a small trench of sorts, more like an extended water garden or rain garden, in that any water that goes above a certain level will just empty out into the dirt here and soak into the surrounding soil and nourish the plants, and then I don't have to worry about it. And I want to keep pumping water out of the pond, which is great. So once I get the water level to where I want it, it'll just always stay there. It might go slightly higher or lower, but mostly just due to evaporation and anything. And then the minor little bits that can still stay in there. But it shall just so you can see the one problem though was that I have this huge rotten stump in the way. So step one, after I've already removed the thing I did last week, which was to create a trench for this downspout to pour into so it didn't flood the area, was to remove the gravel. Now next step is to remove this stump. So let's get started. So my efforts to remove this stump have proved quite futile, despite the fact that it is quite rotten. Some of it is actually very easy to take apart. It's just a lot of work. After 2.5 hours, I decided to pivot a bit and do things a little differently. So over here where my downspout is, I have kind of revitalized my little trench I had going. Added a barrier here so the water can't go any farther than this when it does come down in large rainfall events. Pools here has a little tiny dam to pull up, and then eventually when it gets high enough it'll rise over that and then continue going into here. The whole purpose of this is to slow it down. So it comes in here and it can't really go very far. It kind of slows down here, then it slowly will rise. It only has to go about an inch or so, and then it'll eventually be able to move again to this new area where it fills in again. And the whole purpose of this is to slow it down so that it has time to soak into the soil. So even in the biggest rainfall events we might get here, which is a lot. I mean, it does come off a roof, so it's a lot of rain, but it should still have enough time to soak in. And even if it fills it all in, it's got a lot of space, so it should be able to soak up quite a bit. Connected to that, over here, is where my overflow is going to be, once I kind of narrow it down to where I want it, that level to be. I left extra water in the pond on purpose to see where it falls, and to also to make sure my flow kind of works here, which as you can see, it does quite well. And it's slowly soaking into the soil. It's actually visibly going down. You can see it if you probably can't tell on the camera here, but you actually see it going down. Eventually this will be filled in, and I might widen it a little bit, but it'll be filled in with rocks and gravel. So on the surface it'll just look like a dry creek bed, but it'll have a nice space in there to hold a lot of water. So that in large amounts, when this thing is filling up with water, it'll flow either from wherever it's falling. It's a lot of surface area, so it can, similar to coming off a roof on the downspout, it'll just all flow out here, trickle in this way, and then fill in this space, which will still be a void, just not as much of a void because it will be filled with gravel, but there'll be a lot of gaps for it to fill in. Like I said, I'll make it a little wider, so it looks like kind of a natural stream flowing, from here, filling in the space here, and then flowing around this this side. Since this side of the stump doesn't really have any major roots, most of it is on the left side here. So then we'll fill this in. It'll fill this in and then fill with water. And even if it's in a big rainfall event, it shouldn't fill it up too much. Even if it does, it should soak in, because it's not like a monsoon here. We just get times where it'll just come down pouring rain real hard for 5-10 minutes and then comes off. So it should be okay. Plus, it won't be coming out like it would be if I was pumping it straight out of the pond with my pump. As you can see, it's a pretty big pipe, so it pumps, you can pump hundreds of gallons in a couple of minutes. It won't be quite in that flow, so it should have no problem soaking up. And like I said, I'm going to be widening it, so it should look pretty nice when I'm done. Okay. Alright, still in the process of building my creek bed. It's actually been a few weeks. Thanksgiving happened, stuff like that, bad weather. But one thing that was interesting was I built a little bridge the other day, last weekend. And this piece of concrete was something I found buried in the yard when I was digging out the pond, probably from the previous owner, but it was pretty thick, pretty strong. I actually stood on it, walked on it, made sure it would hold my weight. And this week it's been kind of chilly. Fog's been filling up the valley every day, basically, from here to LA. Honestly, it's been crazy. But what's weird about it is I think the cold, the flow all the way around this thing caused it to crack, and since there's no weight in the middle, it just collapsed. So something to know for future, I guess, for myself. I'll have to put some bricks in the middle to hold the weight if I decide to do this again. So anyway, let's get the creek finished. It's almost done, as you can see. I have to bury this pipe here with some rocks, but otherwise it's almost done. And we'll connect up with my little spot for my downspout, and then we will be good to go. Alright, the creek bed is done. More or less. I mean, there might always be some things that change along the way, but I think it looks pretty good for an amateur. Put some dirt along the edges here so that hopefully the next big rain will come and smooth some of this out. And threw some gravel in there to kind of fill in some gaps and make it look a little more natural. Obviously, I don't think it'll be quite like this in reality, but hopefully the rain will help smooth that out too. Kind of connected my water downspout from my roof here to flow through here. If there's a really major rain event, obviously it'll just pool right here mostly, unless there's a lot of water coming in, but it should seep in pretty quickly. Otherwise it'll flow this way, and then eventually into my dry creek bed, and there's that hidden vault, basically, a gap, not quite a void since it's filled with gravel, but a space for water to fill in, so it can actually feed back into the actual pond. Well, not entirely, but and maybe in a very monsoon season type horrific catastrophic event, perhaps there would be a way for it to fill all this area in and eventually feed back in. But in that case, there's going to be just so much water coming in anyway from the pond and from the downspout that it would just, this whole thing wouldn't matter, kind of even out. And hopefully even then eventually it would even out once it soaked into the ground. So the whole point of this was to make it so that my pond here doesn't fill up. So as you can see, my waterfall is not very big. And in the last major rain event, this whole thing filled up so much that the water in the pond was actually higher than where that waterfall is. So it was just one big pond, basically. It was still flowing, obviously, because I have it flowing from my intake bay here back out along the edge out to the bottom of that bog filter. So still, there was circulating, but there was just so much water. It was actually coming over the edge around this side here, kind of filled in, and then it was just, in this case, pretty catastrophic as far as filling it. And since I didn't want to have to continually have to pump stuff out, which in hindsight, obviously I should have thought of it sooner, but this way any excess should just flow into here, soak in, and then eventually the water level will get low enough where it just is back to where it's supposed to be, like right now. This is its normal, natural level right here. Obviously, you can see there's some mistakes have been made. I don't like to measure. I don't like to level things because it takes a lot of time, and I'm very lazy. And also kind of on a time constraint because I knew the rains were coming at some point and wanted to have as much done as possible before then. So, but as you see, there's still some things that'll probably want to be fixed. Anyway, that's for another video. For now, we got my overflow done, which means I don't have to worry about major rain events flooding my pond and then into the yard and causing all kinds of havoc with my plants. Making it too deep for my marginals, which at a certain point, once it's more established, won't be a big deal. But right now they have kind of shallow roots and then a lot of plant for some of them. You can see this little one here in front of the iris is quite small. It was mostly underwater when there was that major rain event. So to avoid stuff like that, it's nice to have contingencies. Anyway, that's all for now. See you later.